Bullshit.
The No BS Marketing Show is brought to you by Laramore's men's and women's designer clothing. Free shipping, free returns. Shop men's and women's designer clothing, shoes, accessories, jewelry, and more online at laramores.com or in-store downtown Pittsburgh. It's the No BS Marketing Show. I'm your host, Dave Mastovich. Our guest today is Rachel Carlson of Yelp Pittsburgh. But first, let's cut the bullshit. The words you choose to use matter. Sounds obvious, but in practice, we tend to forget the significance of our most frequently used phrases. One example comes from Ginny Rometty, the CEO of IBM. In an interview for Bloomberg Businessweek, the leader of America's oldest tech company explained why IBM uses the phrase cognitive computing rather than AI or artificial intelligence like the rest of the world does. Rometty astutely realized that the term AI has some baggage. She described it as fear-mongering about AI. She knew promoting that term, both internally and externally, might add to the already existing misperception of something she knew was important not only to her company and industry, but to the world. She showed leadership by explaining to IBM team members that the phrase cognitive computing is more accurate and stronger, and that if they used it on a daily basis internally and began referring to it in external press releases, posts, stories, ads, that cognitive computing could become its own strong phrase and not have the baggage that AI has. The CEO of IBM took the time to communicate the importance of using a better, more accurate term to describe one of the company's major future initiatives. If she can do it on something that significant, why can't we do the same in our daily lives? Make the commitment to choosing your words and phrases more carefully. Take the time to clearly say what you mean and why. Be disciplined. It's about leadership and communication and cutting the BS. Our guest today is Rachel Carlson, Yelp Pittsburgh's Community Director. Rachel was on the show before, and also in episode 1, she told us a lot about No Wait, and she talked about how they have elites and segment the people that use Yelp and how they have events to market that and how they build relationships strongly. She has shown us over these 2 sets of episodes how Yelp is so much more than just a way to check out reviews about restaurants or stores, although that is also a great use. She's the first person to represent Yelp in Pittsburgh and continues to show our region those incredible tools. She's passionate about building strong relationships between the many different local businesses and organizations in the area, and she creates and organizes fun and new events to showcase the Burgh's best and brightest. She's got all kinds of energy. Rachel, are you ready for episode 2?
I'm ready.
It's actually like episode 4 for you.
I know.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
So you talked about No Wait. You talked about building relationships. You talked about the elites, with the segmentation of the elites being the people that post frequently and they post well. They post accurate. They post positive and constructive. They don't just say one thing, that place is great for the burger.
Yes.
They give more detail to help us, the customers of Yelp. So you have that elites as a segment. Is there anything else you want to talk about with your segmentation? Is there another group you look at that's almost elites, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the process is grooming them too. So like I said, a lot of people don't realize that we have this community of super users called elites. So that's something that we are, as a company, focusing on is to educate the consumers about that, because I think when we put out a survey last year on why elites like being elites, over, I think 60% said that it was because they feel good about contributing and spreading the word about local businesses, which is awesome. So while I host some pretty cool events for them, it's great to know that the majority of them really love to just contribute and spread the word about great local businesses. And that's something that I'm passionate about, and something that, I've said this time and time again, business owners, it's hard being a business owner, which I'm sure you understand.
Yes.
It's a lot of your blood, sweat, and tears. It's literally your baby. And it's with restaurants and with small businesses in general, it's a hard life. And I really want to work towards showcasing not only how hard they work, but also what they have going on, what they're all about. Hearing their stories, I think, is so key. With us having so many choices now, what I love about hosting these events, and I do them a lot of times at restaurants, but I'm planning one for the Frick in December. I'm very excited about, because they're doing an exhibit for Undressed, which is an underwear exhibit. It's going to be very interesting. But at Pittsburgh Glass Center, I've done theater events, that kind of thing. So it's a wide range of local businesses, but the stories, the really rich stories about the business owners are so fantastic. I love the Cat Cafe's story. Have you heard about the Cat Cafe in Pittsburgh?
Us.
I love their story. So they are, I don't know if they're originally from, but they were living in Brooklyn and wanted to open a business. We're not restaurateurs. We're, I think, in the corporate world or just management positions somewhere. And they wanted to open this cat cafe or restaurant, coffee shop kind of thing. And so they were talking with friends about where to open it. They knew Brooklyn/New York wasn't feasible because it was so expensive. So they were talking with friends about where they thought would be a good place versus Brooklyn. And one guy said, what you're describing about what you're looking for in a city is kind of like my hometown, Pittsburgh. And they thought, oh, okay. All right. Let's check this out. So they visited, I think, maybe twice and fell in love and moved here and opened a cat cafe. And so it's amazing.
And where is...
It's on Penn Avenue. So it's right by, I always say this wrong, Ides, which is the record slash magazine slash comic shop in the Strip.
Okay.
It is almost by the convention center. So it's a street back from the 11, the restaurant 11. It's so cute, and you get to visit with cats in the little loft area. You're able to buy a glass of wine or coffee, bring that up, and play with cats, which is...
So it's not really... Okay, so it's you don't bring your own cat, or do you bring your own cat?
No. I think that would be terrible. My cats would destroy other things, other cats and people. It is for you to go and play with these cats, and also all of them are adoptable. So you fall in love with a cat and you're able to adopt them. It's through Animal Friends. So
it's a cool concept, and so you have to connect them with us so they can be on the show.
Yeah, I would love to.
Now, you were telling me that if someone in the audience wants to learn more about elites and so forth, you said, Dave, there's no chance you could be elite at anything.
Sorry. No, that's not the case.
No, I'm being foolish or just exaggerating. But you were explaining to me why I can't be one, and not just me, any business owner.
Yes.
So if you're not a business owner and you've posted on Yelp a few times, the way to become an elite, what's their best thing to do? Because you were saying in episode 1, it has to be organic. It can't be BS. Mm-hmm. So talk about how they might become one. So
just contributing rich content. And I think once you feel that you've contributed and you're really excited about it, to self-nominate yourself, it's yelp.com/elite is the page that you can self-nominate yourself. It's also on the app with the elite tab, so you can go and nominate yourself as well. And then you're on your way. So you're on community manager's radar, and most of the time they will be reaching out to you to just introduce themselves and talk about the process. And it's all up to you at that point in terms of contributing useful content. And other than writing about those 3 things I talked about, I think what I would love to see more of, and I think I said this last time too, is home services and hair salons and things that aren't necessarily just restaurants. And what I just read was that we are up to 20% with, I believe, home services on Yelp, which is awesome in terms of that segment growing. We obviously have a competitor named Angie, that has a wealth of home reviews and obviously has gone through a lot of transitions and is now free, which it wasn't before. But I think that it's awesome with Yelp because we're trying to grow that with request a quote. So obviously, people don't like to talk to anyone on the phone anymore. And you can just go on Yelp and talk to these businesses and say, I'm looking to get I want a hot water heater, and I don't know what the process is. Do you have an estimate of how you can find me a hot water heater and install it? Like literally that would be me because I have no clue what's going on or how to go about it or anything like that. And so I could write this home service person, search first who that would be on Yelp, and then find them and then request a quote. And they would write me back and say, oh, well, we'll step you through that process. And this is the estimate of the cost, that kind of thing. So it's all done through Yelp. You don't have to talk to anyone until they come to your house, which is crazy to think about, honestly, in a way that our society has changed that way. But we, again, want it now. We want it fast, and we want to just type it out on our phone. So that's what's awesome.
I hear you. I think that there's a portion of it that people don't like to deal with people.
Yeah. And I mean, again, home services is one of the worst too. It's just insane how hard it is to find. So Yelp is trying to make that easier.
Definitely. You also talked a little bit about No Wait in the first episode. So someone that's just picking up this episode, you talked about the growth of No Wait, how it's a Pittsburgh-based company. It's done really well here in Pittsburgh. You're excited about it, but it's going to expand into some other major locations. Then you talked a little bit about something I want you to talk more about because I really think it will help our audience quite a bit. You talked about how personal branding is something not only you do yourself, but you talk to friends, colleagues, people that you're mentoring about how important it is to build a personal brand. Talk about that.
So I obviously work with a lot of business owners, and the business owners, like I said, I very much admire them. Majority of them are not marketers. They are chefs. They're business people, finance people. They're anything but a lot of times, other than if they're literally starting their own marketing firm like yourself. So it's hard, number one, for them to have the time. I think that's the hardest thing, is having the time, because you have to have the time to understand it. And that's the hardest thing, is to make time. I think that it's so necessary to have a clear marketing plan for your local business, because obviously what's going to help you is getting the word out. And the one thing that I love about Yelp too, and that is more and more proven, is that experiential marketing is key. And so that means going to that business like I'm doing and hosting these events and bringing people in, and they're experiencing the business and the business, meeting the business owner, that kind of thing. But I think that the businesses sometimes are just head down, and they don't realize that how important that is to their brand. And a lot of tools are free. There's so many free tools for them to be able to understand, in terms of just hopping on Yelp to be able to build their brand on Yelp. We have free business tools that are available to them. Obviously, they are paid for through advertisements and enhanced profiles, but there are free tools in terms of hopping on Yelp and telling your story, responding to reviews, which is very important. So that's a first step on Yelp. But also, we obviously have Instagram, which I think is, other than me self-promoting Yelp, I think Instagram is a huge, huge marketing tool for people because it's so visual. And I think every restaurant and probably local business, as long as it applies, because there are some, I think anyone could be on Instagram. A mechanic could be on Instagram and post videos and boomerangs. Like, you can make anything interesting, I think, on social media. I think some people's main argument would be, well, I'm a dentist? How would I make that interesting? But
that one might be the hardest. But I hear what you're saying. I agree. I still think anyone can make it an interesting story. Your earlier point is really what I emphasize a lot when I talk to workshops or to clients is that when we start a business, we're passionate about whatever that is. Mine happens to be marketing. I happen to grow up doing messaging and marketing plans and building businesses. But the majority of people are passionate about whatever their thing is. If they're a chef and they cook this certain way, that is their passion. And if there's someone that's good at engineering, that's their passion. If there's someone that's an attorney, that's their passion. If there's someone that builds laser marking, like one of our clients, that's their passion. So they become so strong at that operationally that they lose sight of the time and commitment that needs to be made to building the message, having the big idea, then building the plan around it, and then implementing it. And what I like about what you're saying is it can help people get started much quicker by trying to use your tool. So if they start using that tool well and they show things visually on your tool or on Instagram, they have an opportunity without having to invest six figures to at least get started and see the impact, and then maybe go get the professional that says, okay, we've seen that we can get some impact. How do we get this done?
Yes. And I think that it's daunting for a lot of businesses because it is a lot of work, and it can be a headache to open yourself up, but it's 2017. It's not going anywhere. And I can't say it enough. You have to make it a priority because it's going to be there whether you like it or not. People are going to be searching you on Yelp. They're going to be searching you on Instagram. And when you don't have an Instagram, it's a problem. I hate to say I sound so millennial, and I literally am on the edge of millennial, and I don't feel like a millennial, but with saying that I do sound like one, but it's true. And I think when you realize that, then you can start to build your brand and just try things out. Obviously, you want to stay safe, I'd say at first, but I think the other thing that's helpful with having so many businesses around is telling your story and making it personal. I think not sounding corporate-y is the trend now, sounding like a real person. So I think of a lot of people probably will reference Wendy's and how Wendy's has that voice on Twitter now, and it's super sassy. And now there's been stories on the person that actually runs it. And it's this person that was, I want to say a comic or a comic writer or just a sassy personality. And they have such a great brand now. And I think that can be used an example for a cat cafe, and telling their story and showing a picture of their brownstone in Brooklyn and saying, we left this to come to Pittsburgh, and posting a beautiful picture of Pittsburgh. And I think understanding what your audience wants. So going through posts and posting rich pictures. So the one thing that I always say when I advertise people to hop on Yelp and to build their profile is add beautiful photos. People are so visual. So clearly now with our phones, that has taken over with having nice photos. So making sure that you're adjusting the lighting, that kind of thing, I think is helpful to having a nice brand. I think, again, just making it personal and having those connections rather than it being Cat Cafe, it being me and Ryan love this wine that we picked out for a new wine offering, that kind of thing, I think is putting you down to earth and making you a real person. Even though you're a business entity, it's making the people come to the forefront.
Rachel Carlson of Yelp Pittsburgh. Storytelling is non-denominational, it's agnostic, it's non-generational. What people often fail to realize is you have to tell your story based on the channel that is used at that time. That's the difference generationally. It's not that storytelling has changed. We still want to tell a simple, easy to remember, memorable, unique message. And we wanted to tell that in 1950, 1972, 1990, 2001, and 2020 and beyond. It's just that the channels change. And so the generations often lose sight of that because it's a little harder for them to do the newest channel. And one business that I think has done a great job of shifting that is our sponsor, Laramore's, because if you look at Laramore's now, they focus so much on laramores.com and they say free shipping, free returns, take a chance on something you picked that you saw that you liked, what you think the size is, send it, check it out. If you don't like it as much when you're holding it, send it back for free. If it didn't fit perfectly, send it back. We send you the other one. Well, if you think about that, Laramore's target audience for many generations was the business suit, business casual type of audience. So from many generations, that was often a male-dominated service to them. So that was their biggest segment. What they've done in the last 10 years is really shift that. So it's men's and women's clothing, and it is online as much as the store presence. They have the one hub in downtown Pittsburgh, whereas they used to have other locations. And now they're saying, we want to adjust. They also do a lot with YouTube and with other social media promotions. They're having an event tomorrow on Wednesday, October 4th, to try and get people into the store focused around different things like the cool way you do events. So that's just one good example, is one that really, I believe, has adjusted to it. And being someone that we work with a lot, it's been able to see it firsthand that it's non-generational if you use the channels properly.
I think that's such a good point. And I think what is key is being accessible. Like you said, they're becoming very accessible with the time. So that's what people want now. So with the free shipping and returns, that's accessible. With putting themselves on YouTube, that's accessible. So putting your brand out there and showing off what specifically you are about is being accessible to your audience. So it's clear who you are, what you're about. And so you're going to reach your demo because you're doing that. And I think that that's key, because you were saying earlier on, people fall into specific categories, but if you know your audience and you trust your gut and you brand yourself in a way that's going to best showcase who you are, you're going to hit that demo and you're going to be accessible to that demo that really counts for you. And maybe you'll have some outliers, but that's what counts, is appealing to that demo that you're looking for. And then you just let it grow from there, I think.
There's only one problem I have with Laramore's.
Uh-oh.
Here's what it is. They, as the sponsor, knew that I wear these Robert Grahams a lot. So they asked me to wear them, and then the picture of you and me will be credited to Laramore's and the Robert Grahams. And my fear is people are going to start buying the shirts that are my calling card.
So you're going to have a lot of people around Pittsburgh with the same shirt on.
No, there's plenty of variety of Robert Grahams.
Okay,
I'm joking. I just want to make sure when people have cool shirts on that someone like you says, maybe they started wearing that because they heard about it on the No BS Marketing Show.
And then you can take full credit for that. That's amazing. That's what, you
it's all about
proud.
Me, Rachel. It's all about me.
You want to be proud. Well, that's your personal brand.
We're with Rachel Carlson of Yelp Pittsburgh. Rachel, it's time to hear about some of Pittsburgh's up-and-coming neighborhoods. Walk us through where we need to start shopping, dining, and partying if we aren't already.
So we talked a little bit about Troy Hill with the Scratch being up there. There is another little market called Pear and Pickle, which is a market / sandwich shop / cafe that's adorable. What's interesting about the North Side in a whole is that there are actually 12, I think, sub neighborhoods within the North Side. So while there's the North Side, there's the North Shore. There's Chateau, which has a great Chateau cafe that is literally a business and industrial park, but it's right down the street from Bicycle Heaven, which is a bicycle shop / museum that has incredible display of bikes, including Pee Wee Herman's bike from Pee Wee Herman's Great Adventure. Yeah, which you would have never known about had you gone to Bicycle Heaven.
So walk us through those three. Okay, so the North Shore, we know primarily by thinking of the stadiums and Carnegie Science Center. Then what is technically the North Side? What do people that are there call the North Side?
So the North Side would probably include Allegheny Commons. So that's where the new Nova Place is going, which the new Smallman Galley / it's going to be called Federal Galley is going into, which I'm very excited about. Provision, which is one of the best burgers in town, is opening back up. They were in Smallman and they're going to open in Federal. I would also include Mexican War Street around where the Garden Theater is as being the North Side part of town. But then Deutschtown is right next door, which would be East Ohio. I would think that would be Arnold's Tea, James Tavern, that little area. And then by Penn Brewery, you have Spring Garden, which is where the Wiggle Whiskey Barrel House is, where their new endeavor, a cider house, Threadbare, is just opening up October 20th. And that little neighborhood is kind of getting a reboot as well. So it's really interesting with the North. I feel like the North Side itself has been one of those communities and neighborhoods that have been, quote, up and coming for 10 years, because I think a lot of people watch the Garden renovations as being that symbol of renovation and rejuvenation, and that kind of stalled. And so it's interesting to see that other places around are kind of cropping up and becoming popular. Allentown's another one. So Allentown is behind Mount Washington. And for me, Allentown was a stop on my way to Amazing Italian at Alla Familia. And that has been around, I want to say, for 80 years-ish. And it's amazing.
Yes, it is.
But they have a ton of new businesses going in over there. They have Black Forge Coffee. They have Commonwealth Press just moved their warehouse up there. And they have a lot going on. At their warehouse, there's a open workspace there that you can, if you are a freelancer or are starting up a business, you can go and work there at Work Hard Pittsburgh. There is a vegan place, Onion Maiden, that's open there. So that neighborhood's really seeing a resurgence as well. So it's very exciting. I think it's very cool. Millvale is another one.
Let's talk about Allentown a little bit more. Our friends from Fame 15 are there.
Oh, yes,
So you know Laura really well and Sarah. So talk about what you think is happening already as far as the influx of people coming there and how much more growth you'll see, and what are some of the challenges they might have with the managing the growth.
Parking. That's the challenge.
That's where I was going.
Yep. It's funny because I went up there. I try and hit up different places all the time because I want to, number one, check out new local businesses, but number two, be able to review these awesome local businesses. Yes. So I went up to Black Forge Coffee and met with Sarah from Fame 15. And I drove around for a while. And while I think a lot of our wishes is for public transit to get better, I think the T expanding would be amazing, as well as the bus being even easier to use. A lot of people still drive. That's the reality. And so I drove around for a while, finally found the parking lot by Alla Familia and parked, but I thought, I don't know how often I'll come because the parking is so hard. And what can they do to alleviate that? I live in Dormont, and so I'm dabbling in local politics by being involved with the planning commission there. And so I see how the thought process goes with the council and with community development offices. And so I think that's going to be their real issue. And I think, I hate to say it, but I think having people know that it's a safe area. I think people may have thought in the past with the it's a delicate topic. I think that
I agree. I feel exactly the same way because I've been going to La Familia a number of years.
Yes.
And there's just some challenges. Even just navigating, it's just darker and windier. And there's just some challenges because they have so much positive going on. Mm-hmm. But those are some challenges that you bring up that I agree completely with.
Yeah. And I mean, La Familia is expanding. They bought the building next door, so they're going to have an event space. So there's going to be more cars. There's going to be more things going on. Hopefully I think that they work hard with a lot of different neighborhoods to integrate the neighborhood into the community. And that's something that's crucial because if they don't, then there's the whole gentrification issue that comes up, which is a real issue. And that's something that you hear over and over again about East Liberty, because East Liberty has really changed and people have come up against a lot of opposition because they haven't either embraced the community or they have made some missteps with how they are marketing themselves or opening their businesses. So I think that there's a delicate balance with some of those communities that you want to revive, but you also need to invite the community to be a huge participant in that too, the people that make the community what it is.
Let's take one more community because I have a friend who always, in the past couple of years, has been talking about Millvale, and I've gone to some shows there, Mr. Smalls and so forth.
Yeah.
So tell me your thoughts on Millvale.
It's a cool town. It's interesting to me that it's not a city neighborhood, correct?
I'm the wrong person to ask.
We're going to have to research that, but I think it's a, quote, suburb. And what's interesting to me is that they have this rich history with Jean-Marc's bakery. And I would say Mr. Smalls falls into that with being around forever, with the Grant's Bar that has the pie that Rick Seaback loves, which I've tried and it is delicious. So it has the core rich history. And then there are these new businesses that I think, honestly, that neighborhood has done a really good job of participating in what the community wants to see and integrating themselves in without stepping over someone's toes or just having a Target go in there or something like that. Again, with working with Dormont, I take notice of really amazing CDCs and community organizations that are working hard to make the places better. So Grist House is an amazing spot down in Millvale. They're opening that. Another place that freelancers can come and work from, opening Tazo Cafe down there. I think I think that's going to be a really, really rich neighborhood. Carnegie's another one that has a really rich community development community that has really brought them up and recruited some great local businesses to come down there. And that's another suburban one that's thriving.
Rachel Carlson of Yelp Pittsburgh. Love the energy. Always insightful. You educate me and the audience every time you're here. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close out the show?
Oh gosh, that's always the tough question. I think that the big thing we talked about with the avid users on Yelp, just spreading the word about that, and that I really want to drive home the educational side of Yelp, where I want to introduce you to great local businesses, and it's key to, I think, finding customers on the other end of the spectrum with these local businesses. Be open to something you might not know a lot about and be receptive to that. I know it's hard, but I think that in the end, it's just going to help you on all fronts.
I agree. Anytime you're open to new ideas, it just seems to, no matter how stubborn I can personally be, when I'm convinced to try something new, I'm always like, why'd I even argue that?
I want to be 90 and still learning.
Me too.
And growing.
Me too. And we'll end it on that. So Rachel, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us for the No BS Marketing Show, brought to you by Laramore's men's and women's designer clothing. Free shipping, free returns. Shop men's and women's designer clothing, shoes, accessories, jewelry, and more online at laramores.com or in-store downtown Pittsburgh. Hey, if you like the No BS Marketing Show, post a review. Your positive comments go a long way towards spreading the word about the No BS Marketing Show. Thanks in advance for taking the time. If you'd like to ask me a question or suggest a guest or anything else related to the show, email me at dave@masssolutions.biz. Look forward to hearing from you. Visit masssolutions.biz for show notes plus additional marketing and messaging resources. Sign up for the No BS Marketing Weekly Update. You'll receive timely, valuable ideas to improve your marketing and transform your message. It's light, intended to be read in a couple of minutes, and it just might trigger bright ideas for you. To sign up, visit masssolutions.biz, B-I-Z. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea? And build your story around the answer. It's all about bold solutions, no BS.